properties against the hurricanes and other stuff like that. And I think we've got people that are sitting there with their eye on the Avalon Peninsula, and they want to go in there and they just want to destroy it, wholesale destruction, dig the wetlands out, drain them, and they don't want to put in 100-year flood standards, because when you're talking about that low, that wet of a land,
very large holding ponds,
it would be very expensive to build there. If they reduce the standards on Monday, or it would actually be Thursday, if they reduce the standards to talk about it Monday, it'll be a lot cheaper for some of these greedy developers to go in and just destroy the Avalon Peninsula area, and I think that's what we're looking at.
Yeah, you know, and ladies and gentlemen, we've said it before and I'll say it again. They stay ahead of us a little bit. Okay, this business with the stormwater came out of nowhere. If we hadn't have been looking at emails from Team Santa Rosa, we would have never known this. And you, the average citizen, is certainly not going to be digging and looking for emails at Team Santa Rosa. This whole thing started at Team Santa Rosa.
Yes, it did.
A recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners, and let me say this again, that recommendation was developed behind closed doors in potentially a violation of Sunshine Law. Then brought forward to the Board of County Commissioners. The Board of County Commissioners give it to the Northwest Florida Legislative Delegation, and then it gets over there. That's when we started digging into it. And then we see, and like I said earlier, enough pressure was put that it did stop them from taking a vote on it in the last series of county commission meetings. But it looks like they're prepared to make a decision this time.
Yeah, and I think what sickens me is that it's being presented as economic development, you know, good old catch-all economic development. We don't know how, but somehow there's going to be some sort of job creation from weakening stormwater standards.
You know, the same goes true for gambling. Okay.
Yes.
Well, we're having trouble economically, so let's usher in gambling. Well, we're having trouble economically, so let's usher in somebody buying our roads and turning them into toll roads. And we're having trouble economically, so let's go ahead and have brothels in the state of Florida, because you know they pay taxes and you know and for goodness sakes, I would have thought everything was going to be okay, because we voted this county wet, and that was supposed to cure all the ills, because we were in an economic downturn a little bit then.
Well, let's go ahead and pay $3.1 million for
a piece of
property that was
that's right. We have $3.1 million to spend on a piece of property appraised for $900,000, and during this, we've already laid people off, ladies and gentlemen, and there's more to come. And but. You know,
and I'll mention that during the same economic summit meeting that this scheme to decrease stormwater standards was announced, they also announced that they wanted to buy that Poland property. For the same reason, it's going to grow jobs somehow. And
really, honest to goodness, you have to draw a moral line in the sand somewhere. Sure, everybody's suffering economically right now. You know, I'll go ahead and say it. Show me something Team Santa Rosa's done to help anybody. $7–8 million gone their way. They facilitated the Pullen property. They facilitated the Griswold property purchase. They facilitated the Aviation Park purchase. Aviation Park was purchased in 2003. The birds are still happy out there. I mean, nothing. Yet we have one private individual who, by himself, under profit motivation, which that's okay, I'm all for capitalism, but by his actions, he's bringing in 500 jobs to Santa Rosa County. So, you know,
you're talking about the new prison.
The new prison. It just frustrates me that we're down economically, so let's bypass the permitting. Let's lower the standards. And we forget about what we're going to have to deal with 2 or 3 or 5 years from now. And I will point out, this happened a long time ago, and I don't think Santa Rosa County's made a mistake like that, but Saddle Club Estates in Pace, Florida, was a grandiose, great idea, marvelous, here's your approval from the county. And over a series of about 5 or 6 years, it was a duck pond in the bottom of it to start out with. But they allowed houses there, and eventually your federal government had to buy out those people because they were flooded. I think 5 times, 6 or 8 feet high. So we've made. And there was a huge mistake made on off of War Basin Road. Same thing, allowed people to build houses on the ground. We need to have high standards when it comes to this.
We have a lot of groundwater in this county. There's a lot of water.
We do.
In the soil.
You know, we are blessed with many creeks, with many rivers. We have many bays. We have a lot of water here, and I just don't think we need to make a major change in it.
Well, and I'll just mention that after we had the week of storms a couple weeks ago, for the first time, and we're fairly high and dry here, we found 2 water moccasins,
right,
one after the other, in our yard.
Right. So it certainly...
They're going to have to go somewhere.
Right. It's a concern, ladies and gentlemen. The commission meeting Monday, the 11th, starts at 9 a.m. If you have an interest in this, please come forward and express your opinion, either for or against it. A close personal friend of mine, I'm going to hold this up so everyone can see it. I want y'all to take a look at this. I think this is probably some of your government's finest work. This is the Domestic Extremism Lexicon.
This is what was redacted recently by the Department of Homeland Security.
They kind of thought about it a little bit, but you know, I'm going to go through these and read a few of them to you. We're not going to spend a lot of time today, but in future shows I'm sure we will. Know you're sitting there in your living room watching the show, or maybe later on you're watching it on YouTube. Of these that I read off, if you happen to be a member of that group, just raise your hand. I note that the alternative media is right up to the top.
That would be us.
Looks like we're there. If you're anti-abortion, you meet the category that your government is worried about you.
You're suspicious.
If you're anti-immigration, now, you know, I would have to add to that, I think, anti-illegal immigration. There's plenty of us that are against that. The next category is direct action. Now, what's interesting about this, it does say unlawful, but it also says lawful acts of civil disobedience. That puts you in that category.
You might be a terrorist.
You might be a terrorist. Environmental extremism, Deborah. You know, you're all for the green stuff.
Well, you have to define extremism.
Green anarchism. You know, if
That's sort of a contradiction in terms.
You know, it seems interesting to me that I see my president on TV repeatedly talking about solar power and wind power and all those. Is the government going to watch him?
There's really no such thing as a green anarchist. I'm not sure where that came from.
Right-wing extremism, you know, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I'm so far to the right, I'm touching Genghis Khan.
I think you're extreme.
Single-issue extremist group. Now, ladies and gentlemen, in case you don't directly fit into any of these other categories, if there's one thing that you're passionate about that you don't like your government doing to you, then they've got a catch-all, you know, big net. They can catch you in that net. We hope you've enjoyed the show. I know it was just thrilling for me to get to lob a question at our governor, and we were treated so nicely at WSRE, and we appreciate that. And ladies and gentlemen, that'll wrap it up for this week. I'm Jerry Cooey.
I'm Deborah Nelson. Good night.